Right then, Gareth, thanks for these ratings.
That's all right.
I see you've put yourself, well, at the top of the rating scale for nearly everything.
Well, if you don't agree.
No, I didn't say that. So you would say you're managing your work well?
Yes.
And you continue to develop your own capability?
Yes.
And you're meeting users' needs?
Absolutely.
Okay. How about problems?
I don't have any, really.
Yeah, but when they come up?
Fine. But just deal with them.
Okay. If you just give me a minute. If you just sign there.
Hang on. What's this here?
Just a few thoughts of my own, that's all.
There's nothing up with my timekeeping.
Well, I've noticed a few occasions and we have talked about it in the past.
And you know I'm not an IT person.
It is an issue though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not here to do IT. I'm here to run the swimming. I'll do it very well.
So you said?
Well, look, if you've got any problems with my work...
No. Anyway, it's a good PDR. You come out of it very well. And I'll leave in everything you said.
Okay, then.
See you happening, Gareth.
You happy with this Pushpinder?
Yeah, I guess so. He's not the easiest of people, but he's not a bad worker. But there are a few areas where I think he's performing below standard.
It doesn't say that here though, does it? In fact, if I'm honest, your comments don't seem to match up. They certainly don't reflect the rating. If I saw this for the first time, I'd think it was two different reports. I'm sorry, I can't really countersign this as it stands.
She's absolutely right. But you know what it's like, you don't want to upset people, especially if you're working with them. Even more so if you're managing them. Tell you what, should try it again. All the stuff you're telling me, Gareth, it's all very well, but I can't see it myself.
Well, you're my manager, Pushpinder. You don't see everything I do. I'm just busy doing it.
Well, maybe you and I see things slightly differently. If you can show me an example.
Well, you show me evidence that says I haven't done all those things. You show me evidence that says I'm not worth that rating.
Well, I haven't got anything with me now, but, well, as an example, you do tend to be a bit cavalier when it comes to filling in forms. You miss things out and you don't put things on the computer. To be honest with you, it comes across as a bit lazy.
Hang on a minute. Are you saying I'm lazy? When someone doesn't turn into work, who'd you phone? Who sorts it all out? Well, take last week. Who moved all those floats across to the other pool? And you sit there and you call me lazy?
Well, I didn't call you lazy exactly.
I don't have to sit and listen to this. Got far more important things to be getting on with.
Gareth.
That's something you should have thought of. You know him. You should have had examples and evidence there to back it up. It's not just up to him to prepare. You should do your bit as well. And that goes for any PDR you carry out. That way, it's a fair process for both of you. And did you call him lazy?
That was unfortunate. But honestly, Vicky, he does miss things off the attendance forms and really doesn't like filling in the computer logs. So we end up with lots of problems with charges for the clubs. It's just his personality. And I understand that he'd rather be with the swimmers than fill in forms.
But that hardly makes him lazy, does it? And he does work very hard at keeping everyone happy. He didn't have to move all those floats. That's something he did off his own back. You're not going to change his entire personality in a PDR, are you?
No, of course not.
So you shouldn't talk about personalities or make personal judgments. If you can get him to understand the consequences of not filling in forms, he might make his own decisions to change. Use some facts and figures to illustrate what you're saying.
Yeah, I can see that.
Alongside that, remember to recognise all the effort he does put in. And try not to use the L word next time.
Can't argue with that. Gareth, let's have a chat about these ratings you've put down for yourself. They're not exactly low, are they?
Well, I think I do a good job.
Well, that's good. Have you got any examples with you?
Examples?
Yeah, remember we suggested you give some examples of your achievements to support your own assessment.
Well, you're my manager. You know what I do.
Yes, but I'm not watching you all the time, and this is about both of us discussing examples of your performance. I'm afraid that at the moment, the ratings that I am thinking of don't quite match up to the ones you've given yourself. Sorry, but some of mine will be slightly lower.
Well, that's not on. Well, how do you know I'm not doing those things when you're not here?
You're right, I don't. All I've got are the notes I've made from our monthly meetings and emails from other people I've received about work you've done. We agreed the evidence we'll be looking for when we set the objectives for this year, remember?
Sort of.
And that's the evidence I have to go on. If you've got some examples to show me otherwise, then I'm happy to look at them. You see, your PDR has to have input from both of us, then be countersigned by Vicky before it's moderated. It has to have evidence and it has to be fair.
Well, I haven't got any examples with me.
Well, in that case, it wouldn't be fair for us to carry on with your PDR, not if you haven't got everything you need. How about we reschedule to give you time to reflect on it all, get your evidence together and prepare properly?
What do you mean, evidence?
Well, examples, a few notes about what you've done. Stuff like emails, reports you've done, customer feedback, staff comments, that sort of thing. Information that lets me know about what you've achieved based on last year's objectives. Right, let's both take a look at our diaries and see what we can do. Right, Gareth, you've put here that you're very good at completing documentation and inputting data into the system. And I see you've given yourself very high ratings for that. I have to be honest and tell you that the ratings I'm thinking of are considerably lower.
Why is that?
Well, for a start, the system isn't up to date. Records aren't being properly kept.
But yeah, look, but I know exactly who's in the pool when I'm running swimming club.
But you still need to enter that information into the computer. It'll take a couple of minutes, no more.
You're saying I'm lazy?
That's the last thing I'm saying. I know how hard you work. I'm aware of the extra things you do, like when you have to move all the floats from one pool to another. If someone's away, you're the first person I'll think of to cover. And on that side of things, I would agree, very high ratings. But it's this other stuff.
Paperwork, you mean?
Yes. Like these forms here. There's no cost code. There are no club numbers. We need this information. It's like the session times. These should be on the computer and they're not.
You know me and computers, Push. I hate them. It's not like I can take a laptop into the pool with me. All this moving bits of paper about. I mean, what's that got to do with anything?
Gareth, it's really important. Those codes are needed to issue invoices to the clubs. What do you think would happen if codes were missing?
We couldn't send out the invoices?
Yes. And no invoices means?
No payments.
And therefore?
We can't afford to run the clubs. Alright, I get it.
If you fill in those codes properly, we can invoice for the payments. Keep the swimming clubs running and meet our targets for getting the community involved. Look, Gareth, I know how dedicated you are to your swimmers. And maybe you think paperwork gets in the way.
Maybe a bit.
But can you see that getting the paperwork right can actually help your swimmers get a better service?
Well, yeah.
So what we need to do is get your paperwork up to the same standard as your excellent client care. What do you think?